So please welcome Larry Jordan.
The first question I want to ask is, how many people edit to make a living?
How many what?
How many, it's my speech, all right? How many people edit to make a living? Right. How many people would like a way to make more money? So here's my deal. All of us think in terms of silos. We think of this is Apple software, or this is Adobe software, or this is Avid software. And so we say Motion, Final Cut. We say After Effects, working with Premiere. And I don't use Avid, I will confess, so I don't know all the stuff that hooks into it, but clearly Boris Continuum and all the Boris Effects stuff is part of what you would use with Avid. What I want to do today is to have us think outside the box. I want to have us think about using Motion for Premiere, or using Motion for Final Cut, or using Motion for Avid. Because Apple Motion does more than you think. Why do we want to even use Motion? If you can't answer this question, then the rest of this 30-minute presentation is going to be wasted. And the reason is it's powerful, it's fast, it's flexible, gives us incredible text animation, gives us easily accessible 3D text, the easiest to use particle engine that's out there, extensive replicators, which I'll show you in today, extensive painting and path tools, accessible cameras, lights, movement, and 3D space. But here's what makes it even more valuable. It comes with a library of 5,200 graphical elements. It supports HDR media. And it's a one-time $50 purchase. You're not renting it. After Effects requires monthly rental fees. Now, if you're an After Effects user, there's no real reason to use Motion. But After Effects is intimidating. There's a lot of people would love to use After Effects and have no idea how, or they're at best duffers. There is no question that the outstanding motion graphics platform in the world right now is the combination of Motion and Final Cut. It does more, faster, easier, better than all the other NLEs out there. Which means that, of course, if you're using Premiere, you can't use all those wonderful elements that are created for Final Cut because you're a Premiere user. And what I want to do today is to show you that, yes, you can use that same graphic engine that's on Final Cut, but use it for Premiere or use it for Avid for $50, one time only, and for the last 6 years, every upgrade has been free. We can create titles and effects for any NLE. So let's put it to work. If we have, let's see, just to show you where we're going, and as a, well, let's just do this. We're going to create a Motion project. Now, we can create, inside Motion, we can create standalone movies, or we create effects or generators or titles that are specifically designed to work with Final Cut 10. I'm creating a standalone movie using Motion. This standalone movie can be used in any NLE, and I'll prove that to you in just a minute. And this is the Motion interface. Motion, could we make that any darker? Yeah. All right, the Motion interface.
Want me to turn down the lights? Larry?
Huh?
Want me to turn down this?
No, that's all right. I can't see the screen even at this distance. Over on the left-hand side in that part of the cloud is what's called the library. This is the 5,200 graphical elements that we can work with. For those of you who do not know Final Cut, I'm going to use a couple terms which are Final Cut specific, one of which is called the inspector. The inspector is where we make changes. It's where you tweak. This big window here is called the viewer. That's called that because it's where we view stuff. And there is a timeline built into Motion, but the timeline is only used by the week. We're not going to deal with the timeline. We're not going to deal with the timeline at all. First thing that we want to do, of course, is we want to create some text. Does anybody remember the keyboard shortcut for the text tool in Photoshop? Right, the letter T. You guys are very quick. Well, the letter T right down here is the same text tool that we have inside Photoshop, and we are going to call this LACPUG because Michael promised that I had to use this, otherwise he would never invite me back. We can select the text. We go to the inspector. The inspector is where we make changes. And inside the inspector, we can control a lot of different things, but one of which, for those of you who have ever opened Photoshop, is some really outstanding text tools. We can make the text big enough that even the people in the cheap seats can see what the text looks like. So we now have text. So far, nobody has been damaged or injured by the creation of this incredibly brilliant logo. We have all the fonts that are available on our Macintosh. Go to the library and go to where it says particle emitters. These are fully built particle systems which you don't have to design at all. You just simply borrow them. And of course, we're going to go right to Pyro because I know exactly what you're thinking. We got to have this thing blow up. So we're going to grab Pyro and drag Pyro under here and then just make it big enough that it, don't like that one at all. Let's just get rid of that and try oil fire. That'll work better. And then we'll play this, and now we have an oil fire going underneath LACPUG, which I think this place burning is just, there's it's way too typical. Yeah, so we're just going to grab this and drag it over and make it bigger because we can. Now, you have to imagine, if you will, that behind the white letters there's a burning fire, all right? It's there, trust me. We're going to select the text, and now we go up to the inspector, because the inspector is where we make changes. We're going to mess with the blend mode. The blend mode is allowing us to say, let's just take that and put the fire inside LACPUG, and we've got fire inside LACPUG. So now we have to export this. This is the important part. This is the part that you have to take notes on. This is the part that if you screw it up, all of your training in motion has completely been wasted. This is incredibly complex stuff. So stay awake. We're going to go up to share because we want to share our video with other people. Apple is a very giving company. And we go to share our video, and we want to export a movie. Okay, keyboard shortcut is Command-E for export. Now, here's the secret. Don't touch anything. Click Next, and we're going to call this Flames in LA, and save it. Now, this is GPU accelerated for those of you who have used Premiere, which means it will be done in your lifetime, and we will be able to use this in other applications. Let's just hide this for a moment, and let's open up Premiere. And inside Premiere, we're going to add this Flames in LA. We'll just drop that as a title on top here and play it this week. Come on, hurry up. People are watching. Now, for those of you with really good vision, there is a very dark LACPUG text with flames inside it, which on a normal 2-bulb projector would look spectacular. But we're a little weak here. This is every movie which you create as a motion project, when you export it, has a built-in alpha channel. That's technical talk that means it's got transparency built in. This alpha channel, it's a QuickTime movie. It can be loaded into Avid, it can be loaded into Premiere, it can be loaded into Final Cut 10, it can be loaded into Final Cut 7. You can move it over to Edius, you can take it to iMovie. It's a generic piece of graphic, and it's a movie, which means that you're not saving a project file, you're not saving instructions, you're saving the actual rendered output of the movie as an alpha channel, so that we can put this anywhere. Treats it exactly like a movie. This is the only time I'm going to prove it, because otherwise this demo would take forever. But the cool part of it is you can think about motion as creating graphical elements for any application without having to worry about whether the application supports it, because it is a generic alpha channel movie that can be run anywhere. So let me just show you some other cool stuff with motion. We can obviously put stuff inside stuff. Stuff, by the way, Michael, is a technical term. I need to sort of explain that to you. Here's another very cool thing that just, watch this. For those of you who are young, this may be injurious to your health. Be careful. I don't want anybody to be hurt in the making of this effect. You'll never guess what what I'm going to be creating. Hang on, I've just got to set a what's called an anchor point. An anchor point is the point around which an object rotates, and I'm having it rotate around the center of the graphic. Select the word text. I have to get the manual out. This is really complex because when you click on text, please, when you click on appearance, do any of you see anything that might indicate something I could click that would give me 3D text? Oh, a 3D text checkbox. And now I'm in 3D text mode. I'm going to make it nice and deep. And I'll go over to properties. We can, if we wish, rotate this on the x-axis. We can rotate it on the x-axis. If I do it slowly, ooh, isn't that, that's just disgusting. Or we can rotate it on the z-axis, which is why we create 3D text would make no sense whatsoever. My favorite angle is, of course, the y-axis, because we want the text to rotate on that center. We just, come on, rotate, would you? Minus 20. Wrong way, how about 30? That'll work. Okay, so now we've got 3D text, and you can see there's depth there. No small children were injured in the making of this graphic. And it works on every NLE. Now let's make it look good. First thing that I'm going to do with 3D text is I'm going to go to the properties menu down here. See this little lozenge? You click it, and you can say, well, what do I want it to be made of? Do I want to have it be made of aged concrete? No. Do I want to have it be made out of, Michael, polka dots. Yes! Probably not. I think we need something which is sophisticated, which speaks to the caliber of this audience. We're going to, no, instead we're going to talk about, we'll do some circular metal. Look at this now. For those of you that have had to animate stuff, animation is time consuming because you have to create what are called keyframes. A keyframe is a point of change during playback. And we have to set a keyframe for each parameter. And we're spending our lives keyframing, and we always put the keyframes in the wrong spot. And then we're having to change the position. There's a new thing inside motion called a behavior. What a behavior is pre-built animations. I want to have this spin. So I select a behavior called basic motion spin, and I open up a heads-up display called a HUD. Do I want it to spin on the x-axis? Do I want it to spin on the y-axis or the z-axis? I want it to spin on the y-axis, and I want it to spin about that far over the course of this event. So now look at what's happening here. Look at the glints, which I didn't put in, but were there automatically. Look at the depth. Look at the shininess of the metal. Oh, but Michael's not happy. I can hear from Michael's expression. He says, Larry, I want to change the lighting of this. So we can bring in lighting and bring it in from the center. We can bring in lighting from the right. We can bring in, now for those of you who have spent time doing lighting, life is too short, people. We want to get this thing done. Remember, our goal is to cash the check. Or we can go into, we can also change the reflections in the environment. For instance, this is coming from a field. Maybe we want to have the reflections come from a parking lot. Maybe we want to have the reflections come from the woods. Or maybe we want to make it look like it's a standard LACPUG meeting and we've got circus lights. Trust me, if there was a second bulb there, you guys would be going crazy. We can change this by going to where it says multiple. And now we have control over the front surface. We have control over the edge. I'm going to pick something really obvious, which is like a light plastic, just to show it up. And then I can change the side edges. Let's keep rotating here to pick this up just a bit. Notice that that's a metallic. I could instead make it a paper or paint or plaster. All this stuff is built into motion. And I haven't had to spend a whole lot of time reading a manual. Imagine what you could do with this on your own projects, with your own text, something much more interesting than just simply 3D text. Now again, to get it back into Premiere, you would go up to the word share, you'd go up to the word share, you'd go down to export movie, and you wouldn't change anything. You just simply export the movie, and now you've got something that moves into a different NLE. But I've already shown you how that works. Well, let's take a look at something different. Let's take a look at creating an infographic background. This is another key feature that we have inside Motion that would be useful. I wish I had a logo of a company that I could use that would make this easier to work with. And I was just thinking of what famous company could we possibly use? Why, I have Avid's logo right here. I could use this. So we're going to use Avid's logo. We're going to drop it right into the center. And the other thing is, unlike After Effects, everything in Motion is real time. Everything in Motion is in real time. Notice that I have not spent a moment rendering, nor will I ever have to render any of this stuff, so I can tweak, and I see the results in real time. So let's create something called a replication. A replication is a geometric pattern of a piece of video, a geometric pattern of a logo, a geometric pattern of, well, in this case, a geometric pattern of Avid. I can determine how big it's going to be by grabbing this slider and dragging it, and I'm going to just drag it a little bit. As soon as I find my mark here, I'm just going to fill this out a little bit. I'm going to change the number of columns from 4 to 3. There we go. I'm going to, let's make it a little bit wider here. And scale it back. All right, now, scale helps if I can see the entire interface. There we go. There we go. Now have, okay, well that's cool. Didn't take long to do. Ugly as sin, but it will work. So let's see what else we can do. Let's apply a filter, and we're going to key that gray background of the Avid logo, which you must admit is pretty darn ugly. We'll just get rid of that, so we'll do a key. Then we're going to colorize it. So we'll do color, and we'll colorize this. And let's just pick a, that's just too ugly for words. How about a nice blue color, which violates all of their marketing rules completely. And now we've got something. Michael, you have got to pay the electric bill. Really, it would make such a difference in people's lives. Oh yeah, okay, that's, if we had 2 bulbs, this would really, you guys would be blown away with it. Now we want to animate it. Again, we don't have to do keyframes. We're going to click on a behavior, because that's pre-built animation, and we go to replicator. Look at all the choices we have for replication to animate. How could we possibly pick the right one? Oh, all right, well, we'll pick that, and we're going to add rotation, and we're going to have this rotate 90 degrees. All right, well, let's just have it be, let's have it do all of them. We could have it do an object. Now, could we add trailing on this? Yes, it's all under filters. We can add colorization, we can add distortion, we could add blur. Just to give you an example of what's possible, I created something just to save a little bit of time here. This took me 7 minutes to create.
Imagine if you had 8. I like it.
I'm happy to bid against any gig you go for, Guy. That's all I can say. So, what's the goal here? The goal is to take a logo, which isn't moving, create an animated logo for a background, create a header, and this can work anywhere. And no keyframes were introduced. It took us 5 minutes or less, 10 minutes to put this together. Of course we tell the client it took us 3.5 weeks. Of course we tell them it took 5 assistants. Of course we tell them it took $7,000 in software, because, you know, our job is to pay the rent. Let's try something different. Oh, this is so cool. Remember I said that one of the powerful things inside Motion is its particle system. So the nice thing is anything can be a particle. Anything could be a piece of dust. It could be a little blue ball. It could be an accordion. It could be an F-150 pickup truck. I don't care what it is. It can be a particle. Let's look for something really simple. Let's look for a butterfly. And we're going to drop a butterfly in here. We're going to make it a little bit smaller because butterflies are not that big. And we're going to get the butterfly to fly, and we click Make Particles. And now we've got butterflies flying. And then we go to our HUD, our heads-up display, and I only want the butterflies to fly in a quadrant that moves from the lower left corner to the upper right. We now have butterflies. We want them to live for about 10 seconds, so we'll say a 10-second duration, but some of them live for 5 seconds, and some of them live for 15 seconds. And some of them go really, really fast, and some of them go really, really slow. And we don't have that many butterflies to begin with, and so we just decrease the number of butterflies. That would be 200, Larry. There we go. And now we've got butterflies flying through the frame in a very organic fashion. Now think of this as falling leaves, falling in the foreground of a television commercial you're putting together Thanksgiving. Or you've got this as the opening to a spring piece talking about the butterflies coming, or a children's story. And my hands never left my wrist. What did it do? Take me a minute and a half to put that together? Of course it was $17,000 of software. Of course it was 2 assistants plus 5 interns to put this together. And the interns did all the work. Well, let's do one more thing. Let's try this. Let's create something that's inspector, and let's get rid of our butterflies. No more butterflies. Let's go to the library, and let's look for dust. Pum, dust. And we'll have the dust go here. We'll make our dust smaller. We click Make Particles, and now we've got dust. We're going to go to our HUD. We want the dust to be falling down because dust never falls up. I've checked. And the dust is falling down. And we have, on the inspector, I don't want them to originate from a point. I want it to originate from a line or a rectangle so the dust falls across the entire frame. We can, by the way, add wind in here, and the dust can be blown in the wind, but that takes me an extra 6 minutes, and Michael is way too difficult to work with. I can't do that. I can change the speed of the dust to have it fall faster, but here's the cool thing. If I go down to where it says color mode, I want the color to change over the life of the dust. And then notice how it starts light and it goes to blue. Let's just move this over so it falls a bit more. We've got the dust, and let's just give ourselves a little bit more speed, say 200, and we'll give ourselves some speed variety, say 75. So some of them go 275, some go slower. Let's have it spin in a random direction, so some of them will spin one way, some will spin a different way. All of this is designed to be organic. And then let's go to our library again, because the library's got all these different things to pick from, and let's find a background that this dust can fly within. So we're going to go to backgrounds, and we'll pick something. Oh, this will work. Let's just grab this and drag it over there and drag it down and put the dust. Well, that's pretty ugly, so we're going to change the blend mode to screen. Light dust falling. Just gives us a little bit of character, and then we'll select our masking tool, and we'll select a Bezier mask and drop a Bezier mask in here and over here. And then I'm in a hurry and I'm not matching that perfectly, but I could absolutely match the shape. And I'd go up to the Bezier mask and invert it. And now our dust falls in the sky but doesn't hit the grass. And again, that's a badly drawn Bezier curve, but you know how you can adjust the curve of that. But I want to show you one more thing. Again, it just gives us something. We've got a static scene. We've got a green screen. I want to drop something in front of it. Motion makes that possible. And all this stuff, royalty-free, can be used in feature films, can be used in commercials. Everything can be used in any NLE, and it's $50, and it doesn't have to be rented. One more thing. I know many of you have had to deal with the challenge of creating a map. We have a drunken turtle who needs to get home, and this drunken turtle is living in Southern California. Inside Southern California, as you know, we have mountains that get in the way, and so I need to draw a map for a drunken turtle to get home. So here's our map of California, and our turtle, let's go find where it starts. Our turtle starts right as the map zooms out. We're going to grab the pen tool, and our turtle's going to start on this river right here. It's going to go up to here. We'll draw a Bezier curve. It's going to hook around this part of the mountains, go over to here because it likes the Mojave Desert. As you know, turtles are very fond of the Mojave Desert, and this turtle likes the desert better than most. We'll do a sharp angle cut over, and then we'll go back down through the pass, and then we'll go across Hollywood and against, and then over here, and then back up, and then our turtle ends up at home. Thought I'd never get there. And we have, without a doubt, the ugliest path I've ever seen in my life. We're going to open up our HUD because that's how we can control stuff, get rid of the fill, and we're going to change the path to what would normally be a dark blue if we had two bulbs, but we don't. So we're going to pick this as a very pale, what color we're going to use? We'll use, boy, that's ugly. Michael, we just, all right, that's just disgusting. All right, that's our path. Now, what we have is now imagine this is a path that you've drawn of a car driving down a highway. Pick any documentary. We now need to animate this. So we're going to select behaviors, shape, right on. And I want to have this thing finished painting by about here. And as I play it, ta-da! The turtle arrives at home. Except that's just too boring. And you guys don't do boring work. You do high quality work. So we're going to do one more thing. We're going to select our Bezier path, and we're going to click on Shape Style. What Shape Style allows us to do, is to create, what do we want this to be? I can have it be dots, which is perfectly okay. I can have it be tumbling squares. I can change the width of the tumbling squares. I could have it be just a little bit darker to give it some character. But I know what you really want. What you really want is you want lizard scales. So we could have this be lizard scales and have the lizard scales paint itself as this turtle, which is a reptile, is talking to its friend the lizard in the Mojave Desert, trying to get to Santa Monica to get home. We've got over 200 animated border shapes built into this path tool. The last thing that there's two other things. Michael, do I have a minute and a half? Okay, minute and a half. So, two other things I want to show you. One is we can animate lower thirds. And the thing that makes the animation of the lower thirds so helpful is that we have pre-built, remember those behaviors? It would be useful if, hang on a second. There we go. Not only can we animate movement like spins or throws or motion paths, but I can animate text animation. There's over, if I select a piece of text, there's over, let's see, I've got all those different animations. There's approximately 275 text animations from very explosive to very subtle, which can be used to animate over existing lower third backgrounds or backgrounds that you create. For instance, I've got a very traditional, for my name, it's just popping on letter by letter, but then that smoky blend in for the title, executive producer. Again, no keyframes. This effect, once I pick the color, I will confess it took me a good 6 minutes to pick that color green. But if you exclude the 6 minutes for picking the color green, the rest of this took about 9 minutes to build. This is the last thing, and I think one of the most impressive things that we can do with motion is that it has very, very accessible 3D. Not just 3D text, but movement in 3D. So we start, this is a camera move. The camera is moving from 4 different sets. If we look at this from the top down, our first set, which is the text, is located here. Our second set, which is racing, is located here. Our third set, which is the women's basketball. Our fourth set, which is football. And the camera is tracking a move where it's pivoting under program control. It's pivoting and moving. It's called a dolly and a pivot through space to be able to show this effect. And what it looks like, again, in real time, is it looks like this. Imagine dramatic music playing, but I'm not interested in building the music. I'm interested in building how the effects work. And that's what motion does. If you think about what your goal is to get high-quality work done in the shortest period of time possible using your favorite NLE. You don't necessarily have to use your favorite motion graphics package. You can use a motion graphics package which is accessible, which is affordable, which comes with its own library, and which supports all known platforms. That is motion. My name is Larry Jordan. Thank you very much.